Part 32. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 321. When the Shima soldiers saw someone fighting back in the ruins, the team leader immediately shouted in the universal language of beasts. Spread out, suppress fire from behind, charge from the front. Although the Shima soldiers look very ferocious and give others a violent feeling, they are extremely efficient in executing combat orders. In just an instant, the scattered Shima soldiers completed the division of labor in a tacit understanding. The soldiers at the back stopped moving forward and immediately raised their guns and fired at the bunker where the Ike people were hiding to suppress the fire. Different from the crude firearms in the hands of the Ike people, although the firearms in the hands of the Shima soldiers are simple in appearance, they are extremely powerful and can easily smash the walls that have not yet collapsed. The bullet hit the ground next to the EK man who was hiding behind the bunker, splashing up pieces of gravel and soil like tiny bombs exploding. In just a moment, the morale of the Ike people dropped to freezing point. Lanfeng leaned against the thick wall of the ruins and gasped for breath, surrounded by the screams of bullets flying. The thin woman holding a gun at the side had her arms trembling slightly, and suddenly she stuck her head out as if she was crazy. Lanfeng quickly reached out and grabbed her clothes and pulled her to the ground, but it was already too late. Because only the lower body was pulled to the ground by Lanfeng, and the blood rain from the upper body of the Ike woman fell down at this moment. Suddenly there was a roar, and the firepower of the Shima soldiers stopped. Lanfeng put aside other things in his mind except shooting, and poked his head out of the bunker with a gun in hand to observe the battlefield. I saw that the Shima soldiers, who were originally divided into front and rear groups and pressed towards the position of Lanfeng and his group of Ike people, became a little confused at this moment, because an abnormal existence broke into their midst. Yinga suddenly rushed out from where she was hiding, knocking a Shima soldier away over a distance of nearly 100 meters. The moment he landed, he raised his calf and kicked a heavy stone slab away, knocking a Shima soldier on the right to the point where he vomited blood and fell to the ground. Yinga then used his strong physical fitness as a second-generation warrior and used the surrounding complex ruins as a cover to speed towards another enemy on the left. For a moment, the Shima soldiers didn't care about suppressing the Ike people in the distance, and quickly pointed their guns at Yinga, who was running around among his companions to harvest. The eyes of Lanfeng and other Ike people in the distance lit up slightly. This was a rare opportunity. Lanfeng raised the gun in his hand and took aim with bated breath. After 2 seconds, he pulled the trigger. The gun in his hand made a loud sound, and a long and thin bullet flew out at high speed. A blood flower burst out from the eye socket of a Shima soldier who was firing at Yinga in the distance, and his body slowly fell to the ground softly. Although the other Ike people had not received formal military training, they also knew that the blonde figure among the Shima soldiers was one of their own, and they spontaneously shot at the Shima soldiers who opened fire behind them. Yinga was moving erratically to avoid the rain of bullets following her, but suddenly she felt that there were far fewer bullets being fired, and she understood what was going on with a glance from the corner of her eye. Yinga, who was moving forward, turned sharply towards the Shima soldiers in the other direction, and swung the flaming sword in his hand across his left shoulder. The Shima soldier's head was immediately separated from his body, but at the last moment the gun in his hand still fired bullets, plus several bullets fired from the side. Yinga suddenly felt a force hitting her abdomen and side. Her movements were slightly deformed, and a broken stone pillar was smashed into pieces by improper control. Lanfeng, who was in the distance, felt suddenly when he saw this situation. He quickly pulled the trigger regardless of the danger. Just when several Shima soldiers were about to tilt toward Yinga's direction and fire a hail of bullets, they found that their armors were being rattled by the bullets of the Ike people, and they quickly covered their faces and looked for cover. However, in just a few moments, nearly 10 people from the Ike people who opened fire were killed. After all, the metal armor and physical fitness of the Shima soldiers were no joke. The firearms in the hands of the Ike people are relatively crude. Although they can fire a bullet with strong penetrating power, it can only be fatal if it penetrates the eye socket of the Shima soldier and hits the brain behind it. However, the Ike people who were fighting with the Shima soldiers at this moment had no military training at all and could only use their guns to tilt the fire. If Yinga was not present, the damage ratio between the two sides would have reached 20-2. Just when the beast's attention was attracted by the Ike, Yinga had already secretly left the place. He found the right moment to jump up, and quickly swung the red flaming sword in his hand several times in mid-air, slashing out several flaming sword auras. Boom! The fire rose along with the black smoke, swallowing up several Shima soldiers. Yinga took the opportunity to fall next to an enemy, and the flaming sword cut off the life of an enemy with one fall. As the number of Shima soldiers became smaller and smaller, Yinga felt more relaxed. When the flaming sword pierced the chest of the last Shima soldier, the scene fell into silence. What followed was the joyful cheers of the Ike people, because they won, although with the help of angels, they did win this small-scale encounter. Yinga turned around and looked at the Ike people hugging each other, her eyes no longer as sharp as when they were fighting before. Then the Ike people began to clean up the battlefield, and at the same time, other Ike people came over after hearing the firefight. Lanfeng picked up the large rifle equipped by them from the body of the dead Shima soldier, but put it down after a moment. "What's wrong?" Facing Yinga's curious inquiry, Lanfeng gasped slightly and said, "It's too heavy, we can't use it at all. And even if we can pick up a firearm of this caliber, the recoil of the shot alone can break our bones without protection." Yinga took a look at Lanfeng's physique, which couldn't be compared to strength, and felt that what he said made sense. Out of curiosity, Yinga picked up the large rifle that Lanfeng had put down and weighed it. Then she held the grip and tried it, and then put it down because Yinga couldn't even hold the handle of the gun completely, let alone shoot. At this moment, cone-shaped beams of light suddenly dropped from the sky, like spears of light being thrown down from the sky. The direction of the beast civilization base that was vaguely visible in the distance lit up. The next moment, accompanied by an exploding fire cloud, a mushroom cloud gradually rose. Then a shock wave swept across, carrying the raised dust and washing over the area where Yinga was. Yinga's face suddenly showed joy and she said to Lanfeng and other Ike people on the side, "It's the sky blade that's attacking, look at the sky." After hearing this, the Ike people present looked up to the sky, and the scene that appeared the next moment shocked them beyond measure. The clouds in the sky began to roll violently, as if a monster was swimming among them. As the clouds dispersed, a huge object as sharp as the tip of a sword revealed itself from the sea of clouds. When its full appearance appeared, the Ike people present found that its shape was like a gorgeously decorated sword hanging in the sky with golden wings. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 322. And this is not the end. As the huge battleship like a hanging sword appears in the sky, orange light bullets with swaying tail flames rise from the area beyond the horizon and shoot towards the battleship. This made the Ike people who saw the scene feel worried in their hearts, because according to Yinga, this should be the Angel's battleship. They are afraid that this newly emerged hope will once again be swallowed up by despair. But the next moment, the Ike people felt that their worries were unnecessary, because all the attacks directed at the battleship exploded in the air near it. Then they saw the sky blade emitting several white beams in the direction of the rising gunfire below. Even though they didn't know what was in that area, they could vaguely see the faint light of fire emerging from the end of the horizon. When the sky blade high in the sky began to drop dense angel squads to attack the ruined cities on the ground, Yinga finally spoke. "Everyone, I am returning to the team, so I will leave for now. Let's see you after the war is over." Lanfeng nodded. When he saw how Angel launched the attack, he no longer insisted on continuing the attack. Yinga waved to the Ike people who were fighting side by side below, pulled down his helmet and visor, flapped his wings behind his back, leaving a sonic boom cloud, and then merged into the angels swooping down from the sky. He chased behind him and followed a group of angel warriors to a platform protruding outward at the edge of the sky blade. This is usually an area for angels to take off and land, but in wartime it is a combat platform for warriors to set off. Hizui came to the edge of the platform and looked at the orange-red fire burning in several places below, and asked in the communication channel, "How is the deployment of the angel warriors in all target areas completed?" "Sister Chai, we have completed all deployments, but as the captain of Tianren, I still disagree with your decision to personally lead the army into battle, Sis Chai." Hizui did not pay attention to the dissuasion from his captain Tianren, unlike most high-ranking angels who could only hold the position of captain because of command and dispatch. He Chui is a fighting angel like the current Holy Left Wing Binghua. Rather than wasting his combat power as a high-level angel by staying in his seat in the Sky Blade, He Chui prefers to gain the heartfelt praise of his soldiers on the battlefield. Worship and acknowledge. This was also the reason why other angels knew that Hizui and Holy Left Wing were having trouble dealing with each other privately, but no angel isolated her. He Chui took out his broad-blade silver sword and told the angels around him, "You don't have to follow me. Go help those places that need you." After saying that, He Chui spread his wings behind him and left the combat platform, swooping down towards the battlefield below. He adjusted his direction and chose the largest ruined city on the way. Unlike the martial arts angels like He Chui who lead the battle, the high-level angels who are captains of the Sky Blade must use their huge computing power to lead the overall situation. Faced with a large number of requests for support and complex and ever-changing situations on the battlefield, Captain Tianren's job is to select the most urgent matters and solve them to avoid heavy losses. "Captain, an angel team has discovered the flying behemoth and requested a Skyblade naval gun strike." In the command room of the Tianren Bridge, Captain Tianren sits in the most eye-catching position. Below him are several rows of female angels sitting in front of long white tables and operating tabletop projection light screens. From time to time, angels report special dangers that appear on the battlefield. Target. Over a ruined city, more than 30 angel warriors gathered around a terrifying giant beast that was 100 meters long. The flying behemoth fanned its huge wings to create a storm, stretched out its sharp claws, and spewed sticky flames from its beak in an attempt to kill the angel warriors surrounding it. Although its movements could not be called slow due to its huge body, it could not catch the angel warrior who could fly flexibly in the air no matter how hard it tried. The surrounding angel warriors were also extremely cautious. They only dared to activate the energy-driven formula in the spear in their hands from a distance, and then projected it as a long-range weapon. The war spears that left his hands penetrated the skin of the giant beast with high-temperature red light, but this was of no use because the size of the war spears was too small. At this moment, the flying behemoth suddenly opened its long beak, shook its head left and right, and spit out a piece of orange-red viscous flames, creating a huge curtain of flames in the air. Some angels had no time to dodge and quickly raised their shields in front of them and unfolded them, while curling up to avoid being burned by the flames. But there were also two female angels who were half a beat too slow to react. They were stained by the sticky flames and let out shrill screams. Their bodies were burning and they fell downwards. "Damn it, the weapons in our hands are useless against it." An angel warrior wearing a helmet gritted his teeth and said, and angels around him immediately answered. "I have applied for the Skyblade's naval gun attack, but it keeps flying around, and the Skyblade has been unable to lock on it." Upon hearing this, a squad leader retreated slightly away from the fighting airspace, observing the flying beast from a high altitude, and finally his sight was fixed on its wings. "Attention all teams fighting the flying giant, attack its wings together, destroy its flying ability, and get it to the ground first." As he spoke, he dived down and rushed into the combat airspace again. An angel captain found an opportunity and landed on the fleshy wings fanned by the giant beast. He grabbed the surface of the fleshy wings with his left hand, raised the flaming sword that glowed red and stabbed it downwards with all his strength, sinking into it easily. But the length of the sword was too short compared to the giant beast's fleshy wings. The angel captain gritted his teeth, and the blade burned with orange-red flames and began to spread around. The flying behemoth screamed in pain, feeling the severe pain from its fleshy wings, and its huge body made a 360-degree rotation in the air. Under the huge centrifugal force, the angel captain was thrown away on the spot, and there was no time to continue destroying the wings of the flying beast. In the sky blade hovering high in the sky, the angel responsible for locking the flying behemoth was anxious but had no choice. Because the behemoth's flight trajectory was not fixed, it was impossible to predict the shooting, and there were friendly units around it. It is prone to accidental damage and cannot carry out coverage bombing. At this moment, Captain Tianren, who was responsible for controlling the overall situation, found that the Tianren naval gun strike requested a few minutes ago had not been executed yet, so he turned his attention and immediately gave the order after thinking for a moment. Let the soldiers not crowd around the flying behemoth, fly in front of it and guide it to fly in a straight line. At that time, you are calculating its flight trajectory and predicating the strike. It's the captain. The angel in charge of the lock was overjoyed when he heard this, and quickly contacted the team that applied for naval gun attack and told them this method. The angels who surrounded and killed the flying giant beast quickly followed the instructions and gathered together to fly in one direction. Because the flying giant beast kept attacking the angels around it, it had long been led from the ruined city battlefield to a relatively open airspace. There were no other angels to distract the flying giant beast at this moment. The flying behemoth screamed from behind, spitting out bursts of flames from time to time. However, although its speed was not slow due to its huge size, it could not catch up with the angel who was flying at full strength. At this moment, several light spear-like beams fell from high altitude, piercing the body and wings of the flying beast on the spot, and fell to the ground with a violent explosion and roar. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 323. Angels flying in the sky, Shima soldiers raising their guns in the air and fighting back in the smoke-filled ruins, and some Sabata beast warriors among them. This is the new scene in today's ruined city. In the center of this huge battlefield is a huge metal shell building complex with an area of several kilometers. However, at this moment, there are several terrifying large holes glowing with fire in this metal building complex. This is the Skyblade naval gun bombing from high altitude, and its power is naturally extraordinary. The heavy firepower against the ship in the Beast base was instantly destroyed by more than 80%, almost completely paralyzing it. Because the base was severely damaged and most of the large weapons built on it were disabled, most of the Beast soldiers left the base to fight the angels for fear of being blown up in the base. At this moment, the sky has become the territory of angels, and there are angels flying by quickly everywhere. From time to time, the Shima soldiers below are penetrated by spears projected from the sky. The standard weapon of the angelic civilization, the Taya alloy battle spear, has not been without any improvements over the past hundreds of years. Before the start of the physical war, Binghua pointed out to Hexi that the armaments of the first generation of angels lacked long-range attack methods. So he 11 proposed a method to install a basic energy circuit on the alloy war spear, and at the same time inscribe a fixed micro-wormhole to recover the sacred language. In this way, ordinary angel warriors can throw the war spear as a long-range weapon, and then recover it through the micro-wormhole transport inscription engraved on the war spear. This can ensure the endurance of ordinary angels. In the chaotic battlefield, a figure fell rapidly from the sky and crashed into the Shima soldiers, making a huge roar. After the raised dust settled, Hizui flapped his wings and lifted his feet slightly off the ground. He looked at the many Shenma soldiers around him whose eyes were focused on him. He raised the corners of his mouth slightly while slowly raising the broad-bladed silver sword in his hand. The next moment, accompanied by the beast's roar, dense gunfire sounded almost simultaneously. Hizui quickly waved the sword in his hand several times, and several meters-long flaming sword energy slashed out around him. Unlike ordinary angel warriors, the sword energy wielded by Heikui did not explode when it touched the ruins and enemies. Instead, it cut straight through all obstacles on the track, including the enemies behind. The screams of the beast soldiers sounded one after another. Hizui ignored the bullets and rushed in front of the gathered Shima soldiers. He slashed left and right with the broad-bladed silver sword in his hand. No beast soldier could survive in front of him. A sword. After cutting down several beast-shaped soldiers, Hichui landed lightly on the ground, raising his left palm slightly to block a few bullets fired at his cheek. The broad-bladed silver sword glowed with scorching light. Hizui turned to the right and swung the silver sword at the same time, slashing out a horizontal giant crescent-shaped flaming sword energy. A group of Shima soldiers on the left who originally fired at Heike were swept away by the sword energy, and were split into two halves in an instant. Under the erosion of the dark energy, not even the bodies were left. Tisk, there isn't even a high-level beast warrior, but I thought I could meet the Tianding Star people. Hizui curled his lips and flapped his wings behind his back to leave the area she had suppressed, and flew towards the burning metal building complex ahead. After fighting and killing all the way, no beast-shaped soldiers could stop Hichui. Rather, it would be better to say that the beast-shaped soldiers were at an absolute disadvantage on the battlefield at this moment. The Skyblade battleship in the sky is like the sword of Damocles hanging high in the sky, always staring down at the sky. Whenever it finds that the beast civilization is using heavy firepower, it will be waiting with a luminous spear. As Hichui opened the door of a large beast base with his swords, the angel in the sky rushed in with a roar. The next moment, intensive gunshots and screams were heard, and from time to time there would be dull roars. Hizui stepped into the door. The scene inside was different from the outside world. Complex machinery and cranes hung on the roof. On the ground were mechanical processing equipment that looked very simple and crude, but at this moment these equipments had stopped operating, and the conveyor belts were filled with various types of parts. The angel warriors also gave up flying at this moment, because the terrain here is too complex and not suitable for air combat. The first-generation angel equipped with a folding shield unfolds the shield. Whenever it encounters an enemy, it uses the shield to resist attacks, and then looks for an opportunity to throw the spear in its hand to pierce the enemy's body. The second-generation warriors are more straightforward. Their tough bodies have long been immune to the blows of ordinary kinetic weapons, so they carry flaming swords and travel through the complex indoor terrain at high speeds to kill all the enemies they see. Hizui did not take action for the time being, but just followed the team and moved forward slowly, looking around at the surrounding environment. Suddenly there was a loud banging sound, and some metal objects in front seemed to have suffered a huge impact and began to collapse. Hizui frowned and stepped onto the ground with his toes, then flew into the air. Looking past the collapsed metal equipment, he happened to see a group of angel warriors behind him besieging a tall and strong beast warrior. The scene that caught Hizui's sight at this moment was as follows. A bald and strong orc wearing silver-gray metal composite armor raised the giant knife in his hand and hacked away an angel holding a flaming sword. Then he jumped up and slashed the giant knife in his hand towards an angel holding a folding shield, only to hear a harsh metal cutting sound. The first-generation angel warrior was knocked down without any resistance, and a shallow dent was made in the metal ground beneath him. Blood dripped from his chin, which was not covered by the mask, and he lost consciousness and was angry. Seeing this, several angels around him quickly stepped forward to attack, hoping to force the beast body warrior away and save their sisters. The animal warrior roared angrily, dodging the spears thrown by several angels on one side of his body, and kicked the angel warrior who was lying on the ground away with his big feet wearing metal boots, hitting an attacker. Here come the angel warriors. The giant sword in his right hand turned and slashed diagonally, leaving a blurry shadow in the air and falling to the ground. However, it missed the target and was dodged by the rushing angel. The angel who had escaped the giant sword's attack was knocked away by the orc's left hook before he could attack and fell into the metal machinery several meters away. This wasn't the end yet. The giant knife that landed on the right side of the orc was slashed diagonally off the ground, sending a second-generation angel flying. Then the orc turned around as if he had eyes on his back and slapped the sword of the sun that was stabbed crookedly, and then accurately grasped the helmet of an angel with one big hand. The angel whose helmet was pinched was extremely decisive. He squatted down and separated his head from the helmet. Then he used the power of the flaming sword that was knocked aside and swept it out with a sweeping kick. There was only a muffled sound, and the orc's knees slightly bent to actively meet the angel warrior's calf, without being shaken at all. The angel warrior was extremely shocked, and his eyes subconsciously moved up, just in time to meet the ferocious gaze of the strong orc and the giant knife he raised to strike down. In such a critical situation, the angel warrior's blue eyes widened slightly, and the flaming sword subconsciously moved in front of him to block. But the giant sword raised by the orc did not strike down. Instead, he opened his big hand and grasped the sword of the blazing sun that the angel used to block, and threw it towards the ground behind him. Because of the warrior's instinct, the angel did not let go of the hilt of the sword, and was knocked dizzy on the spot. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 324. Hizui, who was rushing towards him at great speed, saw the scene and couldn't care about anything else. He threw the silver sword in his hand out of desperation. The armored orc, who was about to stab the angel's head with the giant knife in his hand, suddenly felt a strong force hit the blade in his hand, and the tip of the knife almost touched the angel's cheek and sank into the ground. Hizui reached out to catch the broad-bladed silver sword that was thrown back, and kicked the orc away from the fallen angel. As soon as Hizui entered the scene, the tense angels around him obviously relaxed a little. As for the reason for this, you can understand it by looking at the several angel warriors lying around in a pool of blood. Chasing Sister. The two second-generation angels who had been knocked away by the orcs rushed over, landed next to Heikui and shouted. Hizui just nodded slightly and did not move his eyes away from the orc who was slowly getting up. Who is he? You have so many angels and you still can't take down one of him. At this time, the angel warrior who almost died under the orc's giant sword also got up and coughed twice before speaking. Sister Chai, we don't know either. We don't know much about the composition of the army of the beast civilization. Just now we wiped out the soldiers defending here, and he suddenly rushed out and killed several of our sisters. Hizui's eyes narrowed slightly. From his appearance, he did not look like a Tianding star. Currently, the only high-level beast warriors known to angels were people from the Tianding star. With the purpose of collecting intelligence, Hizui asked. Who are you? I don't want an unknown person to die by the sword. This sentence was spoken by Kakui in the common language of beasts deciphered by Kamigawa, so it was not fluent. Birdman, I will pluck off your wings and make them a trophy for me, the Hs. Hizui naturally heard the provocative meaning, and his heart that was originally excited by the appearance of a powerful enemy slowly calmed down. Thages, I've never heard of it. I guess you are also a nobody in the animal civilization. But you must remember my name, the angel Heikui, the angel who is about to take your head. Hizui raised his broad-bladed silver sword in front of him, with one side of the sword facing Tien's, and his blue eyes gradually became colder. You all stand down, I have to deal with this difficult beast warrior alone. Sister Chai is very strong. We are standing by. Before the angels around him finished speaking, Hizui said coldly, didn't you hear what I said? I am the angel Hizui. Except for the current holy left wing, no one can defeat me. After hearing this, the angels around him looked at each other helplessly, and then they flapped their wings and left, but they didn't go too far. Hisui naturally noticed the scene out of the corner of his sight, and he understood in his heart what these sisters were paying attention to. They were simply planning to rescue her when she was in danger. For a time, only Hakowi and Thecs were left in this wide field. Thakes inserted the giant knife into the ground beside him, clasped his hands together above his head, and said piously in the universal language of beasts, "I admit that you are a warrior. This duel will be conducted under the witness of Tidmans, the god of war. The winner will gain glory, and the loser will lose everything, including life." Hisui just watched the scene quietly, because just this sentence revealed a lot of information. "Come on, little winged god river creature. Let us fight to the death. Only the winner can leave here and enjoy the blessings of Tidmans, the god of war." After Thakes finished speaking something similar to a prayer, he roared at Hakowi like this. Hisui didn't make a sound, because when Thakes shouted those words, it became different. An extremely dangerous aura radiated around him, like a crawling monster. Hisui had only felt this dangerous feeling from Binghua during the Battle of the Raging Sea. Now that she occasionally sparred with Binghua, she could no longer detect Binghua's hostility because the difference in physical hardware was too big. She would often be defeated in 2 or 3 moves. So when Thakes exuded this momentum, Hakowi also became serious, which can be seen from the fact that she changed to holding the sword with both hands. Ordinary angels may not know that Hichui's fighting skills were trained by her sister Tianji King He 11. Although King Tianji doesn't have any outstanding single challenge results, this does not mean that her fighting skills are weak. In terms of his two-handed sword fighting skills, even the holy left-wing Binghua, who is now recognized as the melee king among angels, is not 100% sure that he can beat He 11 in this aspect. The wings spread out on the back of the crane and it rushed forward to the ground. A broad-blade silver sword glowing red was hanging at the side, ready to strike with thunder at any time. Thages also dragged the giant sword in his hand to meet the attack, his deep-set brown eyes staring at the crane that was rushing towards him at a high speed. The moment the two were about to meet, Hichui avoided the falling giant knife with one side of his body, and the broad-blade silver sword in his hand swept forward as Hichui rotated his body 360 degrees, like a rotating knife that was activated, slashing Tian's. The armor on the flanks was cut off along with a piece of flesh. Thages was also a warrior who had experienced countless bloody battles. The severe pain coming from his flank could not even make him frown. His thick left arm reached out in an instant and grasped the crane chai boots that were about to pass by, and then he fell hard to the ground on one side, giving Hisui no time to escape from the trap. With a roar, the ground shook and Hisui sank slightly into the metal ground. White feathers fell from the air, and the silver hair originally tied behind his head was scattered on the ground. Hichui coughed and propped himself up on his elbows. His blue eyes glanced at a tall, strong figure holding the handle of the knife in his left hand. He grabbed the back of the knife in his right hand and jumped up. The other end of the knife fell against his neck. Hisui's eyes widened and he quickly rolled on the spot. A 2-meter-long giant knife fell down from the metal ground where he was just now. It easily broke through the ground and half of the blade was submerged. Hisui took advantage of the rolling situation to get up and half kneel on the ground, watching Thages pick up the giant knife embedded in the ground again, his heart pounding. It was close just now. If Hakowi had been half a beat slower in reacting, he would have been beheaded on the spot by Thages. On the other side, Thakes didn't feel any fluctuation in his heart, because he knew in his heart that the chance of success in that attempt was very small. The short Kamigawa creature opposite who calls himself Angel Crane Chase exudes the aura of the same kind. He is definitely not a battle chick, so it is normal for him to be avoided. The first round of testing is over, and both sides have gained something from each other. Hakowi stood up and rearranged his attack posture. The opposite of him was no longer holding the sword with one hand as before, but instead used the same grip as when he was decapitated just now. That is to say, the left hand is holding the handle of the knife, and the right hand is holding the thick back of the giant knife in the middle. The posture looks weird. The dozen or so angel warriors nearby who were watching the battle were worried because Sister Chai had almost died under the orc's sword just now. Seeing that Theches was not moving, Crane flapped her wings and rushed towards him. This time, she did not fly close to the ground, but chose to keep her feet slightly off the ground, because only in this way could the sword in her hand touch Theches' upper body and head. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 325. There was no other words to say, rather the two of them had no time to distract themselves from talking in the battle of life and death. Hizui held the sword in both hands and slashed horizontally and vertically, leaving a series of staggered slashes in the air in front of him. Every time the red broad-blade silver sword collided with the giant knife in Tian's hand, there would be a harsh metal collision. Voice. The angels who were paying attention to the battle felt that Sister Chai had the upper hand, because as Chai kept slashing, Theches kept retreating. With a muffled bang, Theches made a dented footprint on the metal ground with his kick. He blocked the Crane's slashing sword and pressed forward fiercely, as if he was exchanging injuries for injuries. Chui had already discovered one thing after the previous pursuit, that is, Theches' strength was not as good as his own, and he was not afraid at all when he saw that he wanted to exchange his injuries for sadness. Chui's broad-edged silver sword first penetrated Tian's left shoulder, then turned his wrist and stirred the sword to open a wound as big as a bowl. At the same time, the giant knife in Tian's hand also struck Hizui's chest, causing a burst of brilliant sparks to burst out. The next moment, Theches and Heikawi separated. Heikawi looked down and saw a long gap in her breastplate. If the quality of the angel armor hadn't been good enough, she would have been injured at this moment. The wound on the other side of Theches' shoulder began to slowly stop bleeding. He roared and ran towards the Crane. Hizui also stood up to greet him, but the faint red light on the sword began to concentrate towards the blade. Heikawi didn't know what Theches was thinking, because her current target was just the giant knife in her hand. The broad-edged silver sword in Hizui's hand is He-11's work. It is not only designed to fit her usage habits, but also has a deeply hidden function. He-11 calls it a broken blade that destroys contact with it. Weapons. After this function is activated, the sword will be filled with dark energy to increase the sharpness of the blade. At the same time, when it collides with the enemy's weapon, a small amount of dark energy will be injected into the opponent's weapon. When the time is right, increase the energy output of the broad-blade silver sword and form an energy resonance with the dark energy that penetrates the enemy's weapon to achieve the purpose of instantly destroying the enemy's weapon. At this moment, Chui activated the function of the silver sword in his hand called Broken Blade, and the blade shone with a dazzling burning orange. As Chui slashed horizontally with the broad-blade silver sword in his hand, the giant sword in Theches' hand also slashed down. The weapons of both sides collided again, but this time, unlike before, the two sides were not bounced away by the reaction force. The brown pupils of Theches condensed, and the thick giant knife that was pressed and cut in his hand exploded into two pieces from the middle. The lasing fragments struck all around like bullets. Chui had already prepared himself and closed his eyes. However, Taich's left eye was unlucky and was hit by the lasing fragments of the giant knife. Chui crashed into the chest of Theches, and the broad-blade silver sword barreled upwards, and the blade penetrated Theches' chin. Theches roared in pain, released the handle of the knife and grabbed Hizui in his arms, but his grasp was in vain. Taking advantage of your illness to kill you, Chui felt that the silver sword in his hand could not penetrate the brain of Theches, so he released the hilt of the sword, squatted and rolled to one side, and struck his knee socket with a whip leg. Taijas suffered a blow to his knee, and his legs were weak and he was half kneeling on the ground. As a warrior who has experienced hundreds of battles, Heikawi will never stop attacking until the enemy completely loses the ability to resist. He thrust an index finger at Taija's. Hess's other good eye. Of course, Thaix chose to protect this vital point and pushed away Hizui's thrusting arm, but who knew that this was just a false move? Hizui's arm that was pushed away lowered his hand and grasped the hilt of the sword that he had released before, turning around and slashing forward. Without a weapon to block, Thaix was unable to defend himself against the cutting of the sharp flame-level weapon, and his wrist was immediately cut off and flew out. Needless to say, what happened to Thaix, who was blind and armless after that? Hizui stabbed his head with the sword and lost his life. His tall and strong body fell to the ground like a wall with a muffled sound. Only then did Heikoi let out the breath he was holding, looked at the body of Thagis and said, "I won. It seems that the god of war you believe in has not favored you." With the end of this battle, Hichui finally eased his desire to fight. Instead of running around, he took up his responsibility as a commander and began to take over the command of the surrounding angel warriors and lead them in battle. If they encounter a flying behemoth, they will use flame bombing to deal with it under the cover of other angels. The Battle of Ike ended a few hours later, with 37 Angel Legion dead and more than 2,000 angels injured. After the war, Heikoi reported the situation of Ike to the Skyblade fleet, and after a day's rest, he set off again towards the next star field. The reports from the Queen's various squadrons during this period have been transmitted. I hope you can take a look. Jingnan walked to Binghua and said softly. Binghua, who was thinking about how to kill the beast civilization fleet behind, sighed after hearing this. I still can't think of any good solution, so I can only fight head-on. Seeing this, Jingnan hurriedly stepped forward and gently pressed Binghua's temples. This was a relaxing massage technique that she had recently learned while visiting the Kamigawa civilization information. Although the effect of this behavior on relaxing the mind has yet to be confirmed, it is not to mention quite comfortable. Binghua closed his eyes and leaned back on the chair to enjoy it for a while before saying, "Jingnan, please tell me the current situation of each squadron." After Jingnan gave a soft hum, he slowly opened his lips and told his queen the situation reported by each squadron. After listening to Jingnan's story, Binghua briefly sorted it out in his mind and clarified the current situation. Generally speaking, the results achieved by each squadron are good. Each fleet has now captured several star systems, which is several times more efficient than before there was no division. The most efficient among them is Angel Ran, because she couldn't help but conquer several star systems and also recruited 2 younger brothers. These 2 younger brothers are both Kamigawa biological civilizations who were enslaved by the beast body civilization. Before the angel came, they had been forced by the beast body civilization to manufacture various large and small war machines. After the angels annihilated the beast army that enslaved their civilization, these 2 civilizations immediately surrendered to the angels. All the equipment originally used to produce beast body weapons and equipment has been changed into war equipment suitable for his own civilization. Currently, he is following Angel Ran's fleet and claims to be the auxiliary army of the angels. He acts as a ground force and works with the angels to clear out the surrounding beast body civilization. Occupied planet. Among the other squadrons, only Heikoi encountered the enslaved Kamigawa civilization, but unlike Angel Ran, he did not recruit them as his younger brothers. In fact, this is not surprising, because Hizui and Angel Ran have completely different personalities. Ran will act decisively when doing things, but he still has a certain degree of sympathy. Hichui is a typical supremacist of angelic civilization. In addition, he has a strong personality and cannot look down on the combat effectiveness of those Kamigawa civilizations. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 326. The area behind the red star ring is the divine domain in the heart of the beast body civilization, in a special star domain called the Titan Kingdom. A giant planet is slowly rotating. This planet is called Titan by the beast body civilization, the kingdom of God, and the place where the gods live. Half of the planet's area is covered with dark clouds, lightning, and thunder all year round, and there are huge and magnificent temples on the uneven surface. The environment here is extremely harsh, with lightning storms, volcanoes and earthquakes everywhere, but for the special race living on this planet, these are insignificant problems. In a 1,000-meter-high temple, the dome is simply decorated, giving people an unusually depressing feeling at the end of the hall. A giant wearing full-body silver armor with complex craftsmanship sat on a super-large throne. The layers of armor on his body gave people an indestructible feeling, and at the same time, they radiated a terrifying and oppressive atmosphere to the surroundings. At this moment, in addition to the huge figure sitting on the throne in this hall, in the shadows on both sides of the middle aisle, there are 10 figures wearing golden armor and holding giant guns standing on each side. At this moment, half kneeling in the aisle hundreds of meters wide, was a Tianding star man with a ferocious scar on his face and extremely complex and beautiful armor. Tidorel, how is the work of wiping out the Shenhe body civilization going? With these words, Tidorel felt as if the air around him was shaking, as if bursts of thunder were ringing in his ears. My God, we have completed most of the work of eradicating the Kamigawa civilization, but we are stuck in the new Kamigawa galaxy and cannot go any further. Their new generation of war gods are so powerful that our warriors are no match for them. In the past, they could rely on the bravery of our Tianding people to slay their war gods through sheer numbers. But now those fighting gods are too vigilant and don't give us a chance at all, so I beg the great God King to give me and other people a little help. Teldarel bowed his head after humbly speaking. A group of people in his heart were nervous. Not to mention the Titan God King sitting on the throne, even a random Titan warrior standing in the shadows could easily be pressed to death. Teldarel's request for support from the Titan God King just now will undoubtedly give His Majesty the God King an impression of incompetence. The tragic scene where the previous Heavenly Cauldron King was struck to death by a thunderbolt because he failed to do things well and concealed his actions was being played back and forth in Teldarel's mind at this moment. I know it. After waiting for a period of time, Teldarel, who was extremely nervous, heard the words of the Titan God King that were neither salty nor bland. There was no punishment or the expected scolding. I saw the Titan God King slowly opening his huge golden vertical pupils, opening his mouth and commanding the Titan warriors below, "Let the Titan gods come here to see me." Feeling the heavy footsteps of the Titan warriors walking and feeling insignificant, Tianding King Tidorel could only lower his head to try to reduce his sense of existence. Time passed slowly in the temple, and the sweet accompaniment of thunder and storm reached Teldarel's ears. He couldn't help but begin to miss his glorious life in the Tianding Star territory, where he was the unparalleled king. All animal civilizations must obey his orders. Whoever Tidorel tells to die will disappear in the next moment. At the same time, there are countless beautiful women who always accompany him, and the soldiers and generals under his command are constantly showing off his bravery. But only in the kingdom of Titan, Teldarel would change from a king who always speaks his mind to a grandson who is half kneeling on the ground and dare not speak out. Because the Tianding Star people have the right to control all animal civilizations, which was given by the Titan God King. If they lose this right, the days of the Tianding Star people will definitely not be easy in the future. Among them, the Emperor of the Shima Empire and the Sabata War Alliance will definitely take the opportunity to add insult to injury, because in recent decades, Teldarel has often used the excuse of annihilating the new Kamigawa civilization to send their troops and people to the front lines as cannon fodder. Just then, several loud roars of beasts were heard, accompanied by a slightly louder thunder, and 6 huge figures walked into the temple. They are all hundreds of meters tall, wearing gorgeous armors of different styles and colors, but all of them vaguely reveal a noble temperament. "King of gods, what do you want to do when you summon us?" 6 tall figures walked 100 meters behind Tyrell and stopped moving forward. One of them, a silver-armored titan wearing a ferocious triangular helmet with only his eyes and mouth exposed, asked calmly. The God King still sat motionless on the throne, but opened his eyes again, revealing the slightly glowing golden vertical pupils. There has been some obstacle in annihilating the Kamigawa civilization. Are there any of you who are willing to leave the divine domain and meet the fighting gods of the Kamigawa civilization? The several Titan gods below looked at each other, and then 2 of the 6 Titan gods, one with black armor and one with white armor, took a step forward and spoke almost simultaneously. God King, my brothers and I are responsible for guarding the Titan kingdom, so we cannot leave the divine realm. Teldarel was afraid that he would be accidentally trampled to death by the Titans who came forward, but he did not dare to move because this was in front of the god's throne in the Titan god's domain. Teldarel raised his head carefully and observed for a few seconds before finally recognizing the identity of the Titan god present. The one in black armor is Tidmans, the god of darkness, and the one in white armor is his brother Tidrid, who inherited the god of light. The blue-armored titan who has not yet appeared is Leods, the god of thunder. The grey-armored titan on the left is Leokt, the god of forging, followed by the silver-armored god of war Tidmans, and finally the red-armored titan, Aklek, the god of fire. According to the information in Tyrell's memory, there are a total of 8 main gods on Titan, and the 3 major Titan gods, that is, clan lines. The successor of each Titan god is not fixed. Only the strongest of the 3 Titan gods can succeed to the throne. Each clan has 2 god thrones. Only those with extraordinary talents in the clan can succeed. Get extra divine status. However, the life cycle of a Titan is extremely long. It takes nearly 10,000 years to grow to the prime of life to inherit the throne of God. During this period, it must defeat other competitors for the throne of God. The Titans who failed to compete for the position of Lord God will be called Titan gods, the weaker Titans will be the High Titans, and then there will be the ordinary Titan warriors, also called the lower Titans. Teldarel knew very well that these Titan gods who claimed to be gods were just a cosmic race that was born extremely powerful. The reason why the beast body civilization believed in them was only because of their power that was comparable to natural disasters. Just as Teldarel was thinking about this, Shikai's god of fire, Orklad, walked out of the queue. Dear God King, Aklade is willing to meet the battle god of New Kamigawa for a while. The Titan god King's eyes fell on Aklade, seeming to be thinking, and after a moment he spoke slowly. Then it's up to you. The Kamigawa civilization is rising very fast. The new Kamigawa civilization must be exterminated as soon as possible. Oaklade half knelt on the ground and made a muffled sound. At the same time, he raised his head and saluted the God King, and then spoke and promised. He is the God King. I will definitely destroy the new Kamigawa civilization as soon as possible. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 327. Tagore is the captain of the fleet responsible for destroying the angels. He has more than 300 warships under his command and is the commander of the combined fleets of several nearby systems. Because the angel fleet was so elusive, Tagore had been eating ashes behind the Skyblade fleet, but recently he finally caught the tail of the Skyblade fleet. In order to fight against super-large warships like Tianren, Tagore specifically requested the support of the Titan fleet from the Tianding Star region, but it took time for approval. The Titan fleet is an expatriate force from the Titan god's domain. It is generally responsible for guarding one side or sailing away from the Red Star Ring to collect special resources. Currently, there are only 2 fleets parked in the Red Star Ring. The Titan fleet usually consists of 1 Titan mothership, 5 Titan destroyers, 10 frigates, and 20 assault battleships. The fleet of the Titan Protoss has another name among the animal civilizations, and that is the fleet of gods. Its terrifying firepower and desperate armor thickness are the characteristics of the Titan warships. For example, the warships of ordinary aerospace-level civilizations cannot penetrate even the outer armor of the lowest-level Titan warships, let alone higher-level frigates and even motherships. In the Red Star Ring, in the central star field of the 02 galaxy, the behavior of the Beast Fleet quietly following the Skyblade fleet could not be concealed from the Skyblade's detection system. Although Binghua was surprised, he had not yet found the opportunity to annihilate this huge Beast Fleet, but one thing that was certain was that the commander of the Beast Fleet must be planning something. So Binghua began to gather the scattered Skyblade fleet, planning to wait until all the Skyblades converged, and then destroy this huge fleet first before talking about anything else. While Binghua and the Beast Fleet were suspicious of each other and waiting for the opportunity to annihilate each other, a major event happened on the Kamigawa civilization side. The blade of Kamigawa has fallen. The fall of a war god is a huge loss to the Kamigawa civilization. According to the surviving warriors, it was the Titans who attacked their defense line, and the leader claimed to be the god of flames, Ogulet. It is as hot as a moving sun, causing everything in his path to wither and burn instantly. Even super soldiers cannot survive in that frightening temperature for too long. When the Titan god's domain was about to swallow them up, it was the blade of Kamigawa who stepped forward and stopped the Titan god Ogulsh, buying time for the evacuation of the large forces. But in the end, the blade of Kamigawa failed to successfully retreat and fell in the battle with the Titan god. However, its life-saving blow before its fall also successfully seriously injured the Titan god Ogulsh and delayed the attack of the Beast Body civilization. After giving way to the fist of Kamigawa on other fronts, the spear of Kamigawa rushed to the battle line. Binghua, who was attacking Xingba City in the Red Star Ring, naturally received this news from Merlot Heavenly Court. This made Hyoka feel a sense of crisis in her heart. Although she had never encountered the blade of Kamigawa, its strength was definitely not too bad. This was Hyoka's conclusion by comparing Kamigawa's god of war, Texas. Regarding the sudden appearance of the Titan Protoss on the battlefield, Binghua had two speculations. The first was that the Titan Protoss believed that it was no longer possible to eliminate the Kamigawa civilization by relying solely on its affiliated civilizations, so they planned to end it themselves. The second is that the Titans have turned their attention to this physical war, which means that the Red Star Ring will become dangerous in the future. So Binghua no longer hesitated, and began the plan to annihilate the Beast Fleet before reuniting with the last Skyblade squadron. The plan was simple, because the Beast Fleet had been following the Skyblade fleet, so during the voyage, Binghua ordered his fleet to separate several Skyblades and sneak down in the star field along the way. Then they separated one-third of the Skyblade fleet and jumped to the star field where the space coordinates were established on the route they came from, and outflanked the Beast Fleet from the rear. When Binghua made these strategic deployments, Tagore, the supreme commander of the Beast Fleet, did not notice anything. The main reason was that most of the technology of the Beast civilization was inherited from their destroyed Shenhe civilization. In addition, due to the excessive pursuit of firepower by the animal civilization, the detection system of the battleship is still at the level of the aerospace civilization, and it is impossible to detect the intentionally hidden Skyblade battleship. After the two sides sailed peacefully in the universe for half a month, Binghua finally showed her fangs to the Beast Fleet, revealing her carnivorous nature. The Skyblade fleet, which was originally sailing in front of the Beast civilization fleet, suddenly turned around and directly began to carry out ultra-long-range sniper tactics. Tagore ordered the fleet to evade, but the effect was not very effective. From time to time, several battleships would turn into a burning fireball in the universe. Most of the beast warriors carried on them would explode as the battleships were riding on them. Only the lucky ones could survive. When Tagore ordered the fleet to change routes for the third time to avoid the long-range attack of the Skyblade battleship, but without any effect, he finally determined that it was not the whereabouts of his fleet that was discovered by the detectors deployed by the enemy, but that the opponent had detection technology that far exceeded his own. Tagore, who was born from the warlike race Tianding Star, immediately ordered the fleet to rush towards Tianren's long-range sniper attack. Binghua's Skyblade fleet also unceremoniously increased its firepower output and carried out ultra-long-range anticipatory strikes. By the time Tagore led the fleet to approach the starfield where Tianren was located, she had already lost nearly 100 small and medium-sized warships. Accounting for almost one-fifth of the entire fleet, Tagore's eyes were red with anger. When he saw the Skyblade battle group like a hanging sword in the remote observation system, he immediately issued a battle order. Binghua also issued an attack order, and 15 Skyblades were lined up in a row, like a giant wall of white and gold metal standing in the starry sky of the universe. On the other side is a huge fleet group with a somewhat chaotic formation but more than 200 ships. They rushed towards the platinum giant wall made of Skyblades on the opposite side. The two sides began to shoot at each other from a distance before they even came into contact. The naval guns installed everywhere in Tianren fired out rays that looked like light spears. The Beast fleet is much rougher, firing mostly energy cannons and a small number of energy ray long-range weapons. The Skyblade relies on the light energy barrier on the ship to remain unscathed like a giant fortress that cannot be destroyed. However, the commander of the Beast fleet, Tagore, was not a fool. He saw that the indiscriminate firepower of his own fleet could not break through the shield of the enemy's giant battleship. Just give the order and focus the fire on one of them. Although not every beast-shaped battleship could carry out Tagore's order, one-third of the firepower began to focus on the shield of a certain Skyblade battleship. The Skyblade's huge hull can provide amazing shield strength and terrifying firepower, which is sometimes both an advantage and a disadvantage. At this moment, the huge size of the Skyblade became a living target for the Beast fleet, and the strength of the originally astonishing light energy barrier began to plummet. Binghua was sitting in the main seat of the flagship's Tianren conference hall. In the air in front of him was a real-time projection of the battle between the two sides. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 328. Binghua did not interfere in the command of the Tianren captains because she was self-aware and she only needed to be responsible for the overall direction. There's still a little time left. The Skyblade squadron responsible for outflanking is approaching at high speed. Only when they arrive can they destroy the main force of the Beast fleet here in one fell swoop. The flagship of the Beast fleet commander Tagore is surrounded by many battleships of the same appearance, so it is very safe. With the concentrated fire of the Beast fleet, two Skyblade warships could no longer withstand it at this moment. They began to retreat and moved behind other surrounding Skyblade battleships to restore their shield strength. Tianren's large-scale light energy barrier is a technology that collects the ubiquitous physical light energy in the universe and uses special energy conversion methods to form a barrier that can withstand huge energy attacks. Its characteristics are excellent battery life and recovery capabilities. Powerful. However, no matter how powerful the energy shield is, there is a limit. Under such a high-intensity attack fire, the shield of the Skyblade that was moving behind the Skyblade next to it collapsed into countless energy particles. The next moment, dozens of fire clouds rose from the originally gorgeous hull of Tianren. However, as a celestial battleship, the frame of Tianren and the external armor of the hull are not very good looking. Their thickness and sturdiness are also very high. Only the upper part is decorated. The stone structure and the ground around the edges were partially disintegrated. Before the Beast fleet could expand its results, the Skyblade, whose shield was broken, hid behind the surrounding Skyblades, avoiding the incoming artillery fire. As the distance between the two sides increases, the energy consumption and losses of both the Angel and the Beast fleet increase in a straight line. However, this level of losses cannot make Tagore frown. It is better to say that except for dealing with the aerospace-level Divine River civilization, they have never had much advantage in external fleet battles. 2-1 is considered a victory. Now in the battle with the Angel civilization's Heavenly Blade fleet, the battle loss ratio has only risen to 30-0. However, it is obvious that there are fewer and fewer sky blades on the Angel side that can maintain the light energy barrier at this moment. Only 7 ships are still supporting it, which in disguise reduces the sky blade's firepower output. Tagore believes that as long as the fleet he leads breaks into the vicinity of the unshielded Skyblade and surrounds it, with the huge size of the Skyblade, there will definitely be a dead spot for shooting, so that his own beast-shaped warships can start a close battle that they are good at, relying on the beast warriors on board attacked the Skyblade and captured it. As long as Tagore thought that such a gorgeous and powerful battleship was about to become his own, his heart became hot. But at this moment, a burst of light spear-like rays came from behind the beast body fleet, and suddenly more than a dozen beast body battleships turned into exploding fireballs without warning. Several Skyblades that were originally hiding behind the Skyblades in front suddenly made a space jump at this time, and the landing point was in the fleet group of beast bodies. When several Skyblades with a height of tens of kilometers suddenly appeared in the beast fleet, it was a complete disaster. The warships that were closer were directly cut into pieces by the blade-like hull below the Skyblade. 2 halves. Then Skyblade began to drop Angel warriors, and hundreds of thousands of Angel warriors poured into the battlefield, and the effect was devastating. For a while, the beast warships fought independently, using their secondary guns to drive away the approaching Angel warriors. They did not dare to use the more powerful main guns for fear of hurting their own people. This reduces the damage suffered by the Skyblade that breaks into the enemy's army. Although some scorch marks and dents are inevitable on the hull, they are not enough to damage the muscles and bones. With internal blossoming and being attacked from both sides, Tagore's heart experienced a transformation from heaven to hell in a short period of time. The constant reports of losses from his subordinates made him almost spit out a mouthful of blood. The light of the flame bombardment shimmered and rose in the beast fleet from time to time. The second-generation Angels on the battlefield gathered together as soon as they had the opportunity to prepare a flame bombardment and fire it. Ordinary Angels can only use their war spears to slowly destroy the weapons on the surface of the beast warship, and then look for opportunities to attack weak points such as the attack engine. Tagore, who was looking at the battle damage ratio, did not want the entire army to be annihilated here, so he finally issued a retreat order. Upon hearing the retreat order, the beast-shaped warships on the battlefield quickly retreated to the left rear where there was no Skyblade. The beast-shaped battleships retreated, and the Skyblades naturally pursued them. Except for the 2 Skyblades with serious external damage, the rest of the Skyblades joined the pursuit. But what made the beast fleet desperate was that in the starry sky in front of where they were escaping, 8 Skyblade warships appeared with flashes of blue light and shadow, facing the beast fleet that was hurriedly retreating here. Thrash. At this moment, the beast fleet is like a group of fish trapped in a fishing net. Surrounded by slowly tightening fishing nets, it is gradually falling into a desperate situation. A total of 30 Skyblades slowly compressed the activity space of the beast fleet from 3 directions, like 3 high walls gradually approaching. In such a desperate situation, if the beast fleet continues to resist, the entire army will definitely be annihilated here. Tagore of the beast fleet looked at such a rotten battle situation, closed his eyes and gave an order slowly. Force jump, leave this star field. The next moment, part of the beast fleet launched a suicide attack towards Tianren, and the other part began to prepare for the jump voyage. During the preparation for the jump voyage, the beast-shaped battleship will be unable to move, lose any attack capabilities, and be no different from a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Binghua looked at the battle situation in the projection and shook his head slightly, commenting, "It's too late to survive with a broken arm." The beast body warship sailing inertially has no difference between the Skyblade's locking system and a living target. The spear of light began to call names one by one, just as easily as hitting a fixed target. In the end, only more than 30 beast body battleships successfully entered the jump voyage. The jump voyage of the beast body battleship was similar to that of the Angel civilization. After a period of energy storage, those animal warships directly entered the super lightspeed navigation and left the starry sky in an instant. Tianren immediately calculated the approximate direction of the escaping beast fleet at the end of its jump voyage based on the energy intensity and direction when it entered super light flight. However, the red star ring is still an unfamiliar star field to today's angels. There are no space nodes left in most areas, making it impossible to quickly make space jumps to pursue them. Therefore, Binghua decided to give up chasing the escaping beast fleet and began to clear out the remaining beast battleships and beast soldiers on the battlefield together. 2 hours later, the Sky Blade completed the annihilation battle, and the angel warriors began to clean up the battlefield. After counting the losses of both sides and collecting the corpses of the dead angels, the angel warriors passed through countless flying metal battleship wreckage and gradually returned to the Sky Blade. Soon a casualty figure was compiled and uploaded to Binghua. The angel casualties in this battle were as follows: 2,320 first-generation warriors and 12 second-generation warriors were killed, with more than 18,000 casualties. The results obtained are as follows: 153 small animal body battleships, 75 medium-sized battleships, and 28 large battleships were destroyed. As for the number of soldiers killed or injured in this battle, the angels did not keep statistics, but a total of 51 Tianding star corpses were found, of which 13 died in the battleship explosion and 38 died in the encirclement and suppression by the angel warriors. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 329. Several months have passed since the decisive battle between the Sky Blade and the Beast Fleet. Galaxy Angels 01 and 02 in the Red Star Ring have occupied an absolute dominant position. However, one thing is very clear to both beasts and angels, that is, these two galaxies may change hands at any time. Because the angels do not have the ability to contain these two galaxies, and because the angels' troops are too scarce, if they want to leave garrison troops in each star field, then the Sky Blade fleet led by Binghua will soon be without troops. Situation. So Binghua went around attacking stars and destroying cities, while gathering those Shenhe civilizations that were enslaved by the beast body civilization. However, the effect is not great, because the Kamigawa civilization enslaved by the beast body has lost most of its war potential, and it is impossible to piece together the troops that can defend the beast body's attack. However, Binghua does not need to worry about this for a few years, because the fleet located in the southeast star region of the Red Star Ring has been completely lost in the battle a few months ago. Even if the beast body wants to organize an attack again, it will take a long time to prepare, not to mention that most of the forces of the beast body civilization in the Red Star Ring are concentrated on the battlefield of the new Kamigawa galaxy at this moment. Another thing is that the joint fleet departing from the Angel Nebula is about to arrive at the Red Star Ring. Binghua sent a Sky Blade to greet them, intending to let them build some infrastructure in the 01 galaxy first. The most important thing is that Binghua plans to build a large stargate in that star field to shorten the time from the Angel Nebula to the Red Star Ring. Queen, we combine the information provided by the enslaved Kamigawa civilization to complete the star map of the Red Star Ring. Binghua was very curious when she heard this. She had ordered this matter a long time ago, but she never made much progress, so she gradually forgot about it. If Jingnan hadn't reminded Binghua, he might have forgotten about this matter, so he took the opportunity to retrieve the information from the database and check it out. The Red Star Ring can currently be divided into 5 regions, namely the Tianding Galaxy in the north, the Sabata star field in the northwest and the Shima star field in the south, which occupies 1/3 of the ring. Of course, there are 2 star regions that are very special. One of them is the Tucker star region, which is located on the edge of the Red Star Ring, and then there is the mysterious star realm of Titan Kingdom located in the middle of the Red Star Ring. Judging from the power distribution map of the red star ring, the area where Binghua is currently located belongs to the Shima star territory, and the ruling force in this star territory calls itself the Shima Empire. Its capital star is located in the Gram star system in the north-central part of the Shima star field, above the Gram star 4. After reading this map of the red star ring's power distribution, Binghua found his future strategic target, which was the capital star of the ruler of the Shima star field, but all this would have to wait until he reunited with the combined fleet. At present, the Angel's main task is to clean up the remaining beast armies in galaxies 01 and 02. This is an extremely time-consuming process. Merlot Heaven, in the residence of the King of Angels, Kesha is sitting at the dressing table. Behind her is the angel Alan, who is helping her arrange her hair. Queen, there are rumors among angels in the heavenly city recently, saying that our angelic civilization should not participate in physical wars. I think it is just a war between the Kamigawa civilization and the beast civilization, and there is no need for us angels to get involved. Kesha looked at herself in the mirror and smiled carelessly. They can only see the surface. How could they know about the entanglement of interests between Angel and Kamigawa? Nothing should be taken at its surface. As the King of Angels, I must know whether this matter is beneficial to the development of angel civilization. For example, in the ongoing physical war, those ordinary angels will only see how many casualties we angels have paid in this war. But they don't know how much benefit the victory or defeat of this war will have on the future development of angel civilization. For this reason, as the King of Angels, I am willing to sacrifice some of the lives of the angel warriors in exchange for victory in this war. Alan listened quietly while combing his queen's blonde hair, because she was used to this. And these words cannot be said casually, because they will damage the image of the King of Angels. Then Queen, do we in Merlot Heaven need to explain to the angel residents outside? Kesha closed her eyes and thought for a while, then opened her eyes again, with an idea in her mind. There is no need to explain to those angel residents, we only need to tell the recruits who join the Angel Legion that our actions are righteous. Civilizations that look similar to ours are being enslaved by animal civilizations and live in misery and torture every day, and we angels are their hope and liberators, so this is a war to save the weak. And we angels are the embodiment of justice. I call this the idea of justice. What do you think, Alan? Alan nodded and replied with a smile on his face, Queen Kesha, this sounds very good and fits the soft hearts of most of our sisters. I believe it will be recognized by the sisters below. Kesha and Alan may not know that the concept of justice in their conversation today will be upgraded to a just order that affects the entire universe in the future, protecting thousands of weak civilizations in the universe. At this moment, Kesha didn't think much at all. She just wanted to give most of the angels participating in the physical war a noble concept to fight for, so as to increase the cohesion of the angel army. Avoid the war weariness and numbness experienced by angel warriors during the Battle of the Raging Sea due to the long-term war. Liang Bing sat in the pavilion next to her residence, the gauze beside it swaying gently with the breeze. The book in his hand turned over page after page. Under the brown-black hair on his forehead, his eyes reflected all the various data recorded on the pages. Closing the book with a snap, Liang Bing relaxed back and leaned against the support pillar of the pavilion, sighing. At this time, Liang Bing's former right-wing bodyguard Shalan walked into the pavilion and comforted. Queen, you don't have to worry. After all, time and space genes are a great project. We can take our time. Liang Bing looked at Shalan, who was comforting him, and his original depressed mood dissipated a little. Oh. Your queen, I just feel a little uncomfortable. It's nothing. Thank you Shalan for your comfort. My mood has improved a lot. Liang Bing motioned for Shalan to sit next to him, put his right hand on Sha Yian's shoulder affectionately, and confided. Decades have passed, and I still can't find a way to fuse the space-time gene and the angel gene. I found that if you want to be compatible with space genes, you must redevelop a super gene based on space-time genes. However, this is too difficult and I can't do it alone. My dream of impressing my sister by having all my angelic warriors use my masterpiece will probably not come true. After saying this, Liang Bing's mood dropped again, and Shalan asked tentatively, Queen, didn't you ask your sister for help? Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifen Si Wang. Chapter 330. Liang Bing shook her head and sighed, then said to Shalan, who was held by her right arm. Forget it, she is busy with physical warfare now, and all scientific research resources are now focused on the development of war technology. How can she agree to my space gene project that will not see results in a short period of time? Now I sincerely hope that Binghua can be more effective on the battlefield, and it is best to win the physical war alone, so that I might not have to join the reinforcements organized by my sister. After saying this, Liang Bing stood up and stretched, turned around and stretched out his hand to Shalan, who was still sitting there. Your queen and I have been resurrected with full health. Let's leave here and sort out the information that was just uploaded. In the core area of the Tiancheng Academy of Sciences, He 11 looked up at the complex structural projection in front of him, thinking hard with his bent index finger on his chin as he circled his chest. As Binghua uploaded the information on the war between the Frontline and the Beast Body civilization back to the Merlot Heavenly Court, the Academy of Sciences and the Scientific Research Department under He 11 were modifying various aspects of the defensive characteristics of the Angel armor weapons based on this information. However, this process has not been smooth sailing, especially the Divine Body project that He 11 is responsible for. Although there has been progress, the speed is not fast. However, during the research on the second-generation Divine Body, he unexpectedly obtained the conditions and costs for upgrading the first-generation Divine Body. He 11 estimated that the Angel civilization would soon have a group of newly promoted first-generation Divine Warriors. Red Star Ring, Shima Star Domain 01 Galaxy, a huge fleet is slowly traveling in the starry sky. Among them, there are more than a dozen styles of battleships. The United Fleet of Angel-affiliated civilizations has officially entered the sphere of influence of the Beast Body. In the communication channel, the fleet commander of the Kybrei civilization said unhappily, "Why do you think the Angels asked us to come to such a distant star field? How do I know this? Haven't you Kybrei surrendered to the Heavenly Sword King a long time ago? What? Didn't you receive any inside information?" This is the fleet commander of the Mora civilization, and his tone of voice is very strange. Other fleet commanders, large and small, are also listening to the conversations of several bosses in the fleet. The Kybrei commander didn't want to talk to this guy. They, the Kybrei, were an advanced aerospace-level civilization. Although the Mora people were actually right, he just didn't like this guy's attitude. The purpose of recruiting us is just to fight for them. I can't think of any other reason to recruit us other than this. Commander Mkra said in a cold voice, giving others present a feeling that it was difficult to communicate. At this moment, the voice of Sakaz's magic stick came through the communication. We should listen to God's guidance and not try to speculate on God's thoughts here. As the commander of the Sakaz fleet spoke, the commanders connected in the communication channel suddenly lost interest in continuing to communicate. However, Commander Sakaz did not stop speaking just because no one spoke to him. "Everyone, we are the warriors chosen by God, and we will fight to the death in the glory of God. Therefore, when we have nothing to do now, we should offer our most sincere faith to God. Only in this way can we gain God's favor." Get. Listening to the seemingly brainwashing words constantly coming out of the communications, the fleet commanders unanimously chose to block the communication channels of the Sakaz civilization. Among this joint fleet composed of more than 10 civilizations, only the Sakaz people are an outlier. They have a strong belief in angels and leave no room for the development of believers. However, The Sakaz people's missionary work did not go smoothly because they were surrounded by other civilizations with different cultures and customs, so they gained little. The combined fleet did not have to wait for too long. A Skyblade battleship came with the order of the Holy Left-Wing Sky Sword King under the King of Angels. The general meaning of his order is to let them find a good place in the current star field to start building a house. This made the civilizations who originally guessed why the angels recruited them a little confused about what the angel civilization meant. Could it be that they were asked to travel such a long distance to the Red Star Ring to build infrastructure? However, even though they were complaining in their hearts, the combined fleet of affiliated civilizations still obeyed the order and began to spread out to build a simple stargate according to the drawings and information given by the angel. There is no way to hand over the task of building the Stargate to the United Fleet. Binghua did not consider the construction issue when he went on the expedition, so he did not bring the autonomous Sky Sword engineering robot. Binghua's current purpose is very simple, to use the 01 and 02 galaxies of the Red Star Ring as the frontline transit station for the Angel civilization in the Red Star Ring, and then attack the core star field of the Beast civilization after having stable rear support. When Binghua was preparing to attack the capital star of the Shima star territory, the situation on the front in the new Kamigawa galaxy was not very optimistic. The new Kamigawa galaxy, the body war star domain, that is, the star domain where the Beast body and the Kamigawa civilization are fiercely fighting, the Kalama star system, and the Kalama star 5. The terrifying high temperature made the air appear strangely distorted, and the ground became dry and cracked, as if it was about to start burning and melting at the next moment. The product of the second-generation god-making project of the Kamigawa civilization, the fist of Kamigawa Linyuan's chest kept rising and falling, while he raised his head and looked up at the majestic being wearing gorgeous red armor in front of him. The Titan Protoss, the god of fire and flame, one of the 8 main gods, Ogula looked down at the fist of Kamigawa, which was as small as an ant. Your fists are weak, and you cannot match the title of god. Loud voices came from the pointed helmet of Ogula's, making the air tremble. At the same time, the giant's sword-like gun-like weapon in his hand bloomed with orange-red fire that was difficult to look at. Linyuan pursed his lips and looked solemn, and suddenly jumped up and left the place without any warning. The next moment, the ground he was on was covered by a gun blade surging with terrifying orange-red flames. The gun blade hit the ground, and the ground cracked, making a huge roar like a volcano erupting. At the same time, it was accompanied by countless burning earth and rocks flying thousands of meters into the air. Fist of Kamigawa Linyuan looked at the scene happening behind him. No matter how many times he saw it, he would still be shocked by this terrifying destructive power. However, this was just a casual blow to Titan God Ogula. Due to his size, it was difficult for his attack to hit Linyuan. However, when Linyuan approached him, the Titan God Ogula was just dreaming. Looking at Linyuan jumping towards him, Ogula swatted him away without thinking and waved his arms, crashing deeply into a building. In the mountains. Ogul stepped forward, and when he was about to cut down the mountain and break the wall, a blazing white beam of nearly 2 meters in thickness shot from the distant horizon towards his eye sockets. The speed of light is so fast that when Ogula sees it, it is already difficult to avoid it. However, as an existence that can stand out from many titans and obtain the position of Lord God, there are still 2 brushes. Turning his face slightly to one side, the red helmet on his head just blocked the incoming blazing white beam. While doing this, Ogula did not forget the movements of his hands. He used his weapon to poke a big hole in the middle of a mountain hundreds of meters high in front of him. Then terrifying energy erupted in the heart of the mountain, and the next moment, the small mountain peak of several hundred meters was directly blown apart in the middle.